Well, it's been a while since I've done a video. I don't know why, but my life just seemed to go schizo and chaotic there for a few months. Anyway, I'm back in the driver's seat now, so let's get on with it. So, as you can see, because I've put the title up there in front of you again, we're up to episode 6. And because the title is what it is, I'll be doing some more talking about the moon. And also, as per usual, I'll be talking about what's going on in-game, because Hickory is setting up the next base, and this is an important base, simply because it's in town. Well, that was rude. Here I am trying to kill you, and all you can do is run off. Remind me to slaughter you in the next few moments. And you know what? I think what this base needs is a few more openings for my killing activities. Maybe I could call them slaughter slots. One way or another, I need more of them. Here's a go. Have some arrow in your guts. How'd you like that? No, that wasn't very nice at all, was it? Here's some for you too. So yeah, slaughter slots. What I need is a hole big enough that lets me get my weapon through, but not big enough that they can get their hands through. And I probably won't call it a slaughter slot, that sounds gross. I think I'll go with something nicer. Glory hole. That sounds much nicer. And I think I'd like to have glory holes all along this wall, and probably all the other walls as well. I may as well do it wall to wall. Hell, who wouldn't want wall to wall glory holes in this situation? Or any other situation for that matter. Skarken guts spraying glory holes all the way around. 360-degree access. The perfect panoramic Skarken kill cage. That sounds like a good name. I think I'll call this base the Kill Cage. And I know I haven't mentioned this before, but the first base that I set up, I refer to as the Cabin in the Woods. And why do I refer to my first base as the Cabin in the Woods? For the ironic parallel, of course. Although it occurs to me now that if you haven't seen the movie, then you won't see the parallel either. But that's not going to stop me from referring to it as the Cabin in the Woods, because it is a cabin and it's in the woods. And as for this base, the reason I'm calling it the Kill Cage is because this is where I intend to engage many a Skarken with the intent to kill. And now let's fast forward a little and put the Kill Cage to the test. Oh yeah, that's some really intense Kill Cage testing music. Gut work. Because you gotta hit him to kill him. Now I'm going to interrupt here momentarily because in this cracking demonstration you can see the clear advantage of the Kill Cage's endless glory hole design. I'm in here with my weapon throbbing hard, but I'm completely safe behind this rigid wall of whimsical anonymity, and those drongos outside can't even touch me. Oh, well, I don't know about you, but I've been gratified. I think my Kill Cage glory holes worked a treat. I just need to do a little more penetrating on this wall over here. And while I'm doing that, this will be an ideal opportunity for me to get started on my next talkings about the moon. Now, the story from here gets very complex and probably even unnecessarily convoluted. But there are a lot of events that need to come together in a very precise and meticulous way in order for my version of the 7 Days to Die game world as it is to exist. A lot like the actual universe we live in now, because I have heard it said that during the Big Bang, if the ratio of the electromagnetic force to the strong force were just 1% different, the entire universe as we know it would never have come into existence and we would never be. But I dispute the whole Big Bang theory anyway. As far as I'm concerned, it creates more questions than it answers, but we can deal with that later. Yeah, I'll get round to explaining my theory on how the universe was actually created a little bit later on in my story. For now, let's get back to the moon, and this part of the story is going to establish how the game world was formed, because it's obvious to me that the game world isn't just the result of a Third World War, because a world war isn't even nearly cataclysmic enough to alter the moon's orbital cycle, not even if it were an all-out worldwide nuclear event. And yes, I said nuclear, which is the correct pronunciation, as opposed to nuclear, which is the incorrect pronunciation. So, in order to explain how the 7-day moon cycle came to be, I first have to explain what else happened other than the accepted holocaustic global hostilities that you know as the war that created the game world. So now, let's step back for a moment and consider this. I'm just quickly going to test this door. Shut. Open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. One more test. Open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut, open, shut. Whatever, I think it works. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, consider this. Like a lot of accidents that happen, there are a sequence of inexplicably extraordinary events that lead up to the accident. Now, if any one of these events were either slightly different or completely missing, the accident would never eventuate. My version of the game world was created with the same phenomenal setup. A series of extraordinarily unusual events precisely timed and ordered is what came together to create my version of the 7 Days to Die world. It had its beginnings early in the year 2002. You'll recall I mentioned that in episode 1. I told you of a triad of 3 black holes in a far and distant unexplored part of our neighbouring universe. Much like the proverbial 3 bears, there were 2 larger ones and 1 very small one. All 3 were approaching each other in what seemed to be an unavoidable 3-way collision. However, and this is where the sequence of extraordinary events begins, the smaller black hole was just positioned so as to be sucked between the 2 larger ones and spat out like a railgun at enormous speed, completely unharmed and travelling away from the larger 2 at around 86,000 kilometres per second, which is just under 1/3 the speed of light, 28.6% of light speed to be precise. And it wasn't too long afterwards that the 2 larger black holes collided, as you could well imagine, with astronomical force. And here's a side note. When black holes collide, they send gravity waves throughout the universe. These gravity waves travel at light speed and have a drag effect on any solid matter that they encounter. And although black holes can't be seen against the blackness of deep space, they are nonetheless solid matter. So when these gravity waves reached the small black hole travelling in the same direction, it was dragged along with the gravity waves for a short time. The gravity waves passed quickly because they were travelling at light speed, and the waves' effect on the small black hole was enough to have increased its speed to 127,981 kilometres per second, which is now 42.69% light speed. So this small black hole is really travelling. Now, as black holes go, this small black hole is minuscule. It's barely 10 kilometres across. It hardly even classifies as a black hole. In fact, it probably should have been a neutron star. But as things turned out, it is a black hole. And as I said earlier, this is where the sequence of extraordinary events begins. and the black hole triad that I've just explained is one of the first. So the upshot of all this is that the trajectory of the small black hole just happened to be 18 degrees off our solar system's northern orbital plane and heading directly for our solar system. Now, at this point, this event is not known to any scientists, simply because the light from it won't even reach our solar system until the year 2021. So no one has the slightest clue what's about to go down. Now let's pause for a while and look in game. You'll see that Hickory is travelling back and forth between the kill cage and the cabin in the woods. Hickory's purpose here is to relocate supplies back to the kill cage. The kill cage needs to be self-sufficient because we intend to be spending a lot of time there, particularly on Horde nights. And that's because in-game, my primary aim is always the elimination of Skarken. Eventually we'll get round to looting the town and gathering a lot more resources, but that's going to have to wait till sometime in the future. Alright, that's enough on Hickory for the moment. The moon is still awaiting our explanation. So, I mentioned the year 2021 as being the time that the light from the black hole collision, as well as the gravity waves from the same collision, will be reaching our solar system. So now I'm going to focus on the year 2021, just for a little bit. And I'll talk a little bit about what else is happening. If you'll care to look at any star chart, you'll see that this is the time that Halley's Comet is just approaching Aphelion, its outermost swing just beyond Neptune's orbit. Now the fact of the matter is that Halley's Comet isn't actually due to reach Aphelion until the year 2024. But 2021 was not a good year for Halley's Comet. Halley is still on approach to Aphelion. It's beginning to slow considerably and entering the outer curve of its elliptical orbit. And it's now, while Halley's Comet is in this position, that the gravity waves from the black hole event have arrived in our outer solar system. And not only that, these gravity waves are coincidentally precisely aligned with the 18-degree orbital angle of Halley's Comet to our solar system's orbital plane. So what does that all mean? It means that when the gravity waves arrived, Halley's Comet was the first celestial body in our solar system that they encountered. It also means that because gravity waves have a drag effect on any solid body, as they passed Halley's Comet, they imparted a very gentle nudge, which was just enough to alter Halley's normal orbital path and speed. And travelling at light speed over the next 5 or so hours, the gravity waves pass quietly and harmlessly by Earth and through the rest of our solar system with no noticeable effect on any of the other celestial bodies. Even though the waves had enough energy to drag the comet, all of the other planets and moons were too large to be affected. The combination of Halley's small size, its relative density, and the fact that it had lost most of its forward momentum meant that it was easily nudged by the gravity waves. Bird nest, score, feathers and eggs be good. Oh crap, a dog. Let me pick his brains out. No, just hit him with something good. Effective. Yay, I am triumphant, but I'm bleeding. Fortunately, there's a remedy for that. All fixed. Now feathers and eggs be good. Well, now that that diabolical dog dilemma's done and dusted, I can get back to the story. So, getting back to what I was telling you earlier, Halley's Comet is now on an early approach to the Sun. It was only due to arrive in the year 2062, but because of the gravity wave's effect, it is now due in the year 2047. That's a full 15 years earlier, which means that Halley's is now travelling much faster than it was before. Now at this point, you may be asking, what does this all have to do with the moon? Well, shut your face. I'm getting to it. Now I'm going to jump from the year 2021 to the year 2046, Now, if you know your 7 Days to Die future history, according to Grassy Beans, then you'll know that the year 2046 is just before the war begins. Just 4 weeks before the war begins. And what was it that happened at just this time? Our little black hole shows up. So from its initial beginning in the year 2002, the small black hole has travelled across the void of space over a period of 44 years and entered our solar system December the 5th, 2046. Now this has the potential to be an extinction level event, but as luck would have it, the black hole passed through our solar system almost without incident. I say almost because there was one kind of a big thing that happened. And this is one of those extraordinary events that I was talking about earlier. The black hole entered our solar system travelling at near half the speed of light and at an 18-degree angle to the ecliptic. It took just 12.5 hours to reach the centre planets. It passed between the Earth and the Moon, just close enough to the Moon to pull it out of its orbit. And there you have what happened to the Moon. The beginning of what happened to the Moon. Let's have a bit of a break here. I'm Hickory now, and I think I'll start a garden. This looks like a very good spot. Just got to clear some of these rocks. Maybe a lot of these rocks. I think my plan here will be to dig out the top layer of this whole area and replace it with some nice soil. Then I'll get some seeds and plant some things. I think I'll have flowers. Flowers that I can prance around in like a lily sprite. That'll be nice. Lily sprite prancing is my most favourite thing. But I shouldn't be talking about lily sprite prancing right now because I only have a few more minutes left of talking time till the end of the video. So just one more thing, and then I think I'll do a quick summing up. So at this point, I'll do a quick flick back to the year 1979, the start of the mining on the Moon. Now all this mining was being done on one side of the Moon, remember? So as the black hole passed, it not only pulled the Moon from its orbit, it also started the Moon rolling pole over pole. So by the end of that day, the black hole was gone, fading into the oblivion of deep space, and the Moon's demolished side was exposed to the Earth for the entire population to see. Needless to say, this was an event volatile enough to ignite simmering worldwide civil unrest into full-blown war. And now the summing up. In the year 1979, man started mining on the Moon. In the year 2002, there was an event that involved 3 black holes, 2 of which collided, and the third smallest one is now hurling straight towards our galactic habitat. The gravity waves from the collision are doing the same thing, only much faster. I don't know if you know this, but black holes are the arseholes of the universe. And with that in mind, this particular little black arsehole will pass through our inner solar system December 5th, 2046. 4 weeks later, World War III fulminates with resounding ferocity. And while the war rages on our little blue marble, the Moon is tumbling pole over pole as it gently spirals inward on a slow and eventual collision course with Earth. Oh yeah, I probably should have mentioned that earlier. When the black hole jerked the Moon from its orbit, it set the Moon on a collision course with Earth. Meanwhile, Halley's Comet is on an early approach to the Sun, with considerably altered trajectory and speed. Instead of returning in the year 2061, Halley's new arrival date is now late in the year 2047. And now at this point I need to reveal one more major destiny-shaping event that takes place. And now, leaning in with a simmering look on my face, I said this. On the very last day of the year 2047, at 12 minutes and 50 seconds to midnight Eastern Standard Time, Halley's Comet rounded the Sun. 12 minutes and 50 seconds later, at exactly midnight in Brisbane, Queensland, Halley's Comet slammed into the Moon at a gut-wrenching speed of 500 kilometers per second. And that impact all but annihilated the Moon because more than 2/3 of its mass was ejaculated all over the southern night sky. That impact was also exactly what the moon needed to stop it in its tracks and settle it into the 7-day cycle that is so familiar to all gamers who insist on subsisting in the ramshackle world of 7 days to die. Gamers like me. I do it. And I could say I'm one of you, but I'm not. You're one of me. And so is your mum. Because you've all been looking at my pageant, haven't you? And now you've got it all over yourself. It won't come off. I've told you before, it do be like that sometimes. And just in case you were wondering, yes, I have done the maths. All these figures do add up. All of the numbers I've quoted, all of the times and distances travelled are all mathematically accurate. You can check them if you like, but it'll just be wasting your time. This is all exquisitely made up stuff. And now I believe there are only a few seconds of talk time left. So I'm going to butt out, and I bid you a fond farewell. This is the end of episode 6. There is still so much more to come. You should join me again in the next episode. If you enjoyed my video, please do all the things. That is, Celsac. Share and like, subscribe and comment. I love when people Celsac me.